Hi guys! First of all, I think let me introduce myself. My name is Nayla Safira, and today for this special podcast, I want to explain you about the legal provision ethic for judge. So, have you ever felt doubtful or even a little disappointed about our judicial system? Oh my god, guys! Lately the news about judges violating their own code of ethic has been heartbreaking. Just imagine from January to April the 2025, the Judicial Commission or KAYE was flooded with 401 report of alleged violation. That's a 50% increase from the previous year. From there, 36 judges were summoned for clarification and 25 of them received disciplinary sanction ranging from warning to several ones. The violation they rank from unprofessional conduct, accepting bribes, bias, and to manipulation of verdict. This sad state of affair has left the public shaking their head. Public trust has plummeted, and people are starting to ask, can we still rely on our judicial institution? Is it serving? Isn't it? Now, imagine if there were no judges in this world. The rule of law would be nothing more than empty word on paper, without spirit, without natural and objective to enforce uncertainty, wherein supreme injustice would be the order of the day. Citizens' rights would be trampled on, and social conflict would erupt everywhere. Total horror. That's why judges are the main guardian of justice, the pillar that make the law alive and fair without favorism. The provision of judges is no jokes. They are officially authorized to examine, decide, and settle cases based on the law plus the depth sense of justice. They must be independent and completely neutral in Indonesia. They serve in general, religious, military, and even administrative court. And then their main duty is to receive, examine, and decide case with the principle of freedom, honest, and impartiality in order to uphold the law and justice. They preside over trial, ensure that the rights of the party are fulfilled, and resolve disputes transparently, plus the oversee administration and help make the judicial process simple, fast, and expensive, so that even the common people can access justice. However, to maintain dignity, there is the Bangalore Principles is a international code of ethics designed by judges from various countries around the world as a guideline for judge conduct in order to maintain the dignity and integrity of the judiciary. The Bangalore Principles consist of six core values that every judge must possess. The first one is this independence. The judge must be free from any influence or pressure that could affect their decision. And the second one, impartiality. So judge must all treat all party in a case fairly and without bias. And the third point is integrity. So judge must maintain honesty and morality in both their personal and professional life. And then the next point is integrity. So is it the main foundation for maintaining public trust in the judiciary? And then they have a propriety is the judge must act politely and maintain the good image of the judiciary through their attitude and behavior both inside and outside the courtroom in order to uphold the dignity of the provision. And then the next point is equality. So in a court everyone must be treated equally without discrimination based on social status, religion, ethnicity, gender, or other factors. And the last point, they have a competence and diligence. So judge must continuously improve their personal work ability and truthfully to produce timely and high quality decision. This is the ideal code of ethics, but in reality, many are saggy. Remember the Ronald. So, for this case of Ronald Tanner, began when the defendant Ronald Tanner was charged with premeditated murder. However, in the court ruling, the panel of judges surprisingly decided to acquit him based on controversial consideration. An investigation by the Judicial Commission or KAYE revealed several irregularities, namely that the legal facts and medical advance read out in court differ from the context of the verdict, and then there were discrepancies between the chart broke and the verdict handed down. And then we have the case analysis. So what the principle they violated is the principle of impartiality. So the panel of judge was deemed biased because they acquitted Ronald Tanner, even though the legal and medical evidence clearly pointed to the defendant guilt. This verdict contradicted the facts and the chart, indicating bias and manipulation in trial. And then after this case blowing up into the society, we have the social and legal impact. So the controversial acquittal draw widespread criticism and undermine public confidence in the judicial system. And then the sanction and oversight. So the Judicial Commission and the Supreme Court follow up by imposing several sanctions in the form of permanent dismissal on three judges who were found guilty of bribery and misconduct. So, in addition to these international principles of or Bangalore principles, Indonesia apply 10 basic principles of judicial ethics as a stipulated in the joint regulation of the Supreme Court and the Judicial Commission. These principles are behave fairly, judge must put everything in this proper place, grant right equality without discrimination, respect the presumption of innocence, and avoid bias both inside and outside the courtroom. And then they have a behave honestly, so judge must be completely honest, avoiding fraud, bribery, or conflict of interest that undermine public trust in the judiciary. And they have a behave wisely and prudently, so judge must avoid pre- reprehensible action, so be wise in the decision and maintaining professional relationship that do not affect their independence. And they must have principle of independence, so judge must perform their duty from free from the influences of the executive, legislative, or other party without direct or indirect pressure. And then they have a high integrity, so judge must demonstrate integrity, honest, and resilience in the face of temptation, always prioritizing the truth based on the conscience. And then they have a responsibility, so judges are fully responsible for their judicial and administrative duty and must maintain accountability in every decision. Then they have a upholding dignity, so judges maintain the dignity of their profession through highly moral behavior, avoiding action that demand the authority of the court, and they have a highly discipline, so judges obey the rule, are disciplined in their court schedule, and adhere to ethical standard without tolerance for violation, and they have a humble behavior. So judges respect all parties, including advocate and witness, with a polite and non-arrogant attitude in carrying out their duty, and they have a professionalism, so judge prioritize judicial duty, avoid error in decision, and serve justice completely as a public servant. So the next question, we can know that what is the difference about the Bangalore principles and the code ethic of chat in Indonesia. So code of ethic chat is in Indonesia is like a binding national regulation specifically designed for the post-reform Indonesia judicial context with 10 specific principles such as behaving fairly, honest, independent, with high integrity, as well as the cultural elements such as humility and maintaining self-respect. So this document is not only a general guideline but also detailed rules with a concrete application to the judicial, administrative, and personal life of judge, equipped with a monitoring mechanism by the Supreme Court and the Judicial Commission, along with the disciplinary sanction to ensure accountability local challenges such as corruption. And then in contrast, in the Bangalore principle of judicial conduct, is a like non-binding international standard formulated by judges from around the world in India, so covering only six general principles such as independence, impartiality, integrity, propriety, quality, and the others. It is serving as a flexible global reference with a specific sanction or oversight. So the Indonesia Code of Ethics explicitly adopt and adapts the value of Bangalore. For example, independence become acting independently, but expanded with the cultural and institutional adjustment for national relevance, making it a more operational local implementation than an abstract universal principle. And then I think we can go to the next part is like for you who want to become a judge in Indonesia. So when you want to become a judge in Indonesia, the first one you must have at least a bachelor degree in the law, and then you must pass the civil service candidate or CPNS or selection process, and then you have to undergo approximately 2.5 years of education and training for judge candidates or PPC. And after graduating from the program, the judge candidate will be appointed and inaugurated as an official judge serving in the court. And then we came to the final part of this podcast, is like advice for those who are interest is in becoming judge. So I think prospective judge are advised to build a foundation or integrity early on through intensive training on the code of ethic and code of conduct for judge. And then from the judicial commission, such as the thematic workshop to anticipate the temptation of bribery and intervention, while installing a habit of daily self-reflection to defect conflict or interest, avoid risky personal relationship, and continue to honor their legal acknowledged to be wise and independent without external influence. In addition, strict discipline should be enforced by utilizing supervision from the Supreme Court and CAE through protective reporting, real case simulation, and periodic mentor evaluation, while maintaining humility, professionalism, and responsibility in outside of court to strengthen public trust, avoid common violations such as injustice or dishonest, and uphold moral commitment based on Pancasila so that judicial career are free from sanction or dismissal. I think this is the last part for me, the last explanation for me for this podcast. So I hope you find this podcast very informative and that it serves as a learning experience for all of us. So bye bye guys. Thank you.